What doesn't make sense is all the fucking people out here, marching against mandates that don't fucking exist anymore.
Tonight,
we just did the story. What fucking mandate? There might be individual employers still requiring vaccination. Individual businesses require you be vaccinated to enter. Concert venues requiring you to be vaccinated. Shit like that. But there are no government mandates for anything. The entire country is wide open. It's like the dude that called in last night. Half the country is locked down. What fucking country do you live in? Because it's not the United States, dude. What fucking lockdown? But they're out here marching because the right-wing propaganda has them so worked up that fucking tyranny is coming into their lives.
Vaccine battle reaching a fever pitch in the nation's capital.
If there is risk, there must be choice.
Thousands rallying on the National Mall for the Defeat the Mandates protest, featuring some of the nation's most prominent anti-vaxxers.
Tried to get a burger last night. We got turned away because we didn't have a proof of vaccination card.
I'm not anti-vax. I'm fully vaccinated, but not this vaccine. Main reason being is because it's quote-unquote experimental.
It's not experimental. Not experimental. We're not fully vaccinated.
That's not true. COVID-19 vaccines are fully approved, more scrutinized for safety than any vaccine in history. Supporters say mandating vaccines is the only way to get life back to normal and to protect those most vulnerable.
I think these idiots just think that scientists rushed this through and that the technology wasn't already in development. And matter of fact, they have found that the COVID-19 vaccine has been such a success that they think they're going to be able to vaccinate for all sorts of things now. It's exciting. This shit has been in development since the 80s, kiddos. It's not experimental.
But a new NBC News poll shows deep pessimism that may be hampering the vaccine effort. 7 in 10 Americans believe the country's on the wrong track, and 53% disapprove of President Biden's handling of COVID.
Well, I mean, we're on the wrong track, and I disapprove of his handling of COVID, but it's for an entirely different reason.
Everybody wants to
these
say
dumb
we're
fucks.
extremists, and all I can say is we're living in extreme times.
Mr. Biden suffering yet another blow to his vaccine.
Yeah, you can get a traditional
vaccine mandate for federal workers.
live virus-based vaccine. It's the Johnson & Johnson one.
Legal authority here.
Across the U.S., a tale of 2 pandemics, one showing glimmers of hope in the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic as cases plummet in areas where Omicron may have peaked. In New York, once the nation's COVID epicenter, the governor citing a 66% drop in just the last 2 weeks.
This is extraordinary progress.
But in the South and the West, where Omicron hit later, a different story entirely.
We're still at the top of the wave where I'm at.
Records and overrunning hospitals. But Dr. Anthony Fauci says he's hopeful the rest of the country will soon see a turnaround.
About 2 or 3 weeks.
February.
We don't want to get overconfident, but they all look like they're going in the right direction right now.
There's a big caveat. Fauci predicting more pain and suffering in areas where fewer people are vaccinated and boosted.
And Josh joins us now from the National Mall. So, Josh, was this protest against the vaccine itself or targeted more at the mandates?
Well, they say it's about the mandates, but the speeches today were filled with misinformation about vaccine risks. And we asked rallygoers whether they themselves were vaccinated. All but one of them told us they weren't. Kate?
Well, that's not going to be a super spreader event. And that's another thing is like the unvaccinated is where new mutations happen most frequently. We're going to get a more virulent strain is going to come from large pockets of unvaccinated people getting together at shit like that. Apparently some violence broke out in Brussels. Clashes in Brussels as thousands protest at COVID health pass and restrictions. This is what the scene looked like.
Protests against COVID measures descended into chaos and violence in Brussels on Sunday, with some demonstrators attacking the building of the European Union External Action Service. Belgium police fired water cannons and volleys of tear gas in an
Now, what if I told you But all these protests I'm getting ready to show you scenes of from around the world.
People took part.
What if I told you they were all organized by one organization?
Demonstrators earlier marched through the Belgian capital,
and that I wasn't able to find out who's funding that organization.
To control the spread of COVID.
Would you believe me?
The events in
wait, whoa.
In other
that was a needle in an ass. I didn't imagine that. That is a butthole. Apparently their pants have fallen a little ways down. And there's a needle in the asshole.
The events in Brussels followed demonstrations in other European capitals on Saturday, which also drew thousands of people protesting against vaccine passports and other measures imposed by governments.
That is not the preferred injection site at all. Oh my God! I mean, it was a funny poster, though. You guys want to see what the protests in the UK looked like?
Everybody was clapping the NHS workers in March 2020, and now you've got NHS workers saying, actually, I don't want to be sacked for making a fundamental human choice, which is, it's an inalienable right.
So it's a foregone conclusion. They picked on the poor care.
Oh, God. I'm sorry you sparked that with your seeming joke.
It cannot win. This is the end of the vaccine thing. It's going to implode now. Because medical staff, nurses, porters, they won't have it. How do you justify it to the rest of the population?
You've got people who are triple jabbed and completely happy, but they're absolutely appalled that they've got members in their family, friends, who they either are facing the prospect of not being able to socialise with, to be with, or they're watching family members face financial ruin because they're going to be chucked out of their jobs. So this is not a whether you're jabbed or not. It's a fundamental human right to allow someone to accept or decline a medical procedure.
Early on when the vaccines were being rolled out, I was editing this podcast, and it was a bunch of, bougie liberals, and one of them posed the question about, where did the term jabbed come from? Why taking the jab? And I just thought it was something folksy that when you're doing stories about the same thing over and over again in all these local newsrooms, and you're all doing the same copy fucking every day, coming up with different synonyms for words can be a chore. And I just thought, maybe, especially it sounds kind of British. Maybe a producer heard it on a British newscast and picked it up, and then it kind of, But I'm starting to think it's kind of like how the Republicans always say, that Democrat or Democrat. I think it's on purpose that they're using the word the jab and jabbed. That could have been it as well early on in the vaccine, saying jabbed instead of vaccine in order to. I just don't worry about fucking monetization on YouTube. Every single one of my videos is restricted. It is what it is. I only make, 3 or 4 cents on YouTube a day, but what you got to do in order to do the show you want to do. Oh, that was the end of the video. The smiley face flag is kind of trippy. Now, protests broke out all over Europe. There's also this trucker protest on the U.S.-Canada border, and I brought you one of the foremost experts on culture. Tell us about these truck driver protests for medical freedom. His name is Donald Trump Jr.
Guys, it's happening. It's happening. We've been watching the narrative crumble. We've been watching it dissolve before our very eyes. Things that got you canceled a couple of weeks ago or a couple of months ago or even a couple of years ago for people like myself who are maybe ahead of some of the tyranny and calling it out. It's all.
I wish you had been canceled years ago.
Where there are truckers getting together to fight against medical discrimination. There's a convoy of trucks, tractor trailers now assembling.
Convoy.
Right now is 70 kilometers long. I'm going to play the video at the end of this thing so you can see for yourself. Because when we get together and when we stand together and when we push back against the insanity, we can win. And that's how this all ends, okay? So this is a genius idea. We need to see more of this here in the U.S., and we need to see more of it in the countries like Canada, like New Zealand, like Australia, that were probably perhaps known or at least thought.
Australia, where they're doing a Hitler every couple of days.
That could totally be gone right now. I mean, what I've seen out of those countries is absolutely insane. And what's going on right here in the U.S. is absolutely
insane. What's insane is the hundreds of thousands of deaths
fighting for freedom
that the U.S. has experienced.
Patriots
if not well over 1 million. Let's face it, it's an undercount.
Willing to push back and say enough is enough to the nonsense. I would say there's a strong possibility that Biden put the recent vax mandates on truckers crossing the border to try to stop exactly this kind of global movement, right? If it wasn't about stopping that movement,
Biden mandate,
same mandates at our southern border.
Isn't it Canada that's mandating vaccines?
Maybe they'd have it for everyone, the hundreds of thousands of people that have probably crossed our borders in the last couple months, but they don't have mandates. That's just fine. If you're illegal, that's just fine. But watch what's going on. Watch this motorcade, this convoy, 70 kilometers, okay, 50 miles basically. That's absolutely amazing. They want to lock down Ottawa, the state capital, until the mandates are lifted, until freedom is restored in their country. And honestly, guys, the time has come to end all of this now. And if we all take a similar and peaceful approach to doing it, we'll get it done. Because the science we've been told is the science doesn't seem to be based on anything even resembling science. Awesome.
You don't know shit about science, you stupid fuck.
Wow, this is a huge, look at they go forever. This is by Atchison outside of Edmonton, heading to Calgary, January 23rd, 2022, convoy. More than trucks.
Convoy.
Very impressive. Goes on forever.
Freedom! I mean, like, they are unfazed by just story after story of anti-vaxxer dying of COVID. Wow. I mean, come on, there's bound to be a lot of Meatloaf fans in that crowd. You're not sad that fucking Meatloaf died? Bob had bitch tits. I'm gonna have to fix me up another bowl here. The Simpsons predicted Tom Hanks come out like the U.S. government has lost all credibility. I think it was in the movie. So they've hired me to be a spokesperson. Tom Hanks narrating Joe Biden's first year in office propaganda video. Fucking wow. Hopefully he's behind bars and we don't have to worry about it. You wanna know who was behind all of this shit? A group called worldwidedemonstrations.com. Worldwide Demonstrations. I don't know who they are. I cannot find their source of funding. That's who organized all of the shit I just showed you. We're going to go to the About section and see what we can find out. Promise you it won't be much. What is the worldwide demonstration? The worldwide demonstration, also known as the Worldwide Rally for Freedom, is an international syndicated community demonstration dedicated to emboldening citizens to push back against coronavirus-related restrictions in their countries. The event is deployed by our member organizations in each city with full local autonomy at the grassroots level. All events operated by the Worldwide Demonstration member organizations are peaceful and apolitical. Oh, you know I'm already thinking that it's fucking Koch money, it's Mercer money, it's the same motherfuckers. But I don't know this. This is a shady organization. I can't find out who is funding them. There is no disclaimer about who is running this site. Nor could I find any deep dive into who these people are. There is no information about who put this together on this website. But the people that fall for this shit think we're the sheep. Bah!